Hello there. Happy Money Monday, and welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Abundant podcast. This week, I am super excited for this episode because we are diving in to all things scarcity seeds, which is the foundational block when it comes to creating and living your most abundant life. And we're going to talk all about how these little sneaky scarcity seeds can hold you back and prevent you from attracting wealth, attracting money, stepping into your next level of abundance, growing your business, and living the life that you truly desire, and how this is already happening without you even realizing it, and how you can uncover your scarcity seeds and unwind this block so that it doesn't hold you back. And this is really important. This is a conversation that I have in depth with my clients all the time. Speaking of which, right now, enrollment for the next round of Empowered Abundance is right around the corner. That's right. Group 9 doors are opening soon. Enrollment will officially open on Monday, June 29th, and will be open for 2 weeks only. I'll talk more about that a bit later, but for now, let's dive in to scarcity seeds. Now, when it comes to creating an abundant life that you desire. And what I'm referring to when I say an abundant life, it's living the life you want to live without money holding you back, building the business that you want to build, being able to support yourself financially with the work that you love, being able to have that feeling of freedom and fulfillment. That is my definition of an abundant life. Living the life that you're meant to live in alignment with your desires, and instead of money holding you back, your money helping you to create that life. When it comes to creating a life of abundance, there is a specific 5-step process that I walk my clients through. And step 1 of that process is what I like to call uncovering scarcity seeds. This is the first step for a reason, because this has the biggest impact on your ability to actually live and actually create an abundant life. Before we talk about exactly what scarcity seeds are, how they impact you, how they hold you back, and how to overcome them, I want to give you a tangible, real life example from my own life. So it is story time. Let's flash back to many years ago when I was in college. So I was getting my bachelor's in business management, accounting, and finance. I was maintaining a 3.9 GPA. I had no student loans. I was paying for college out of pocket. I had no credit card debt. I was managing restaurants, and I had a team of 30 staff beneath me, and so I would work 30 hours on the weekends, working very late nights, leaving work around 2 a.m. very consistently, working all through college, and by the time I was 20, I had $30,000 in savings. So on paper, I was really crushing it. I was checking all of the success boxes. People would look at me and be like, Scarlett, you have it together. You know what you're doing. And on the surface, it also looked like I had a really great relationship with money. I was being really smart with my money. I was being really strategic with my money. And I was setting myself up for a lot of success, especially as a young adult. This was pretty uncommon. So even though everything looked really good, there was still a problem with this situation, and there was still a problem that I wasn't facing. You see, on the surface, things were looking really great, but inside was a completely different story. I was depressed. I was in a toxic relationship. The work environment I was in also wasn't a great one. I was covered in head to toe eczema, and I had migraines every single week. I felt like a zombie living in my own life. I had no purpose, no passion, and I felt like I was running a never-ending race. And I thought that if I just kept going and I just kept checking more boxes, that someday I would arrive at a magical destination that said, Scarlett, you did it. You did it. You made enough money. You're good enough now. You can relax. You can take your foot off the gas. But what I realized the hard way was that I would never get there, that the finish line would just keep moving, and that I was actually on a never-ending hustle hamster wheel. Now, I'm sure that this story sounds familiar. Maybe you can relate or you know someone who can relate, but this is really common. This is a common situation where it can feel like no matter how hard we work, no matter what we do, no matter how much money we actually make, it still doesn't feel like enough. I felt like I just needed to make more. I needed to keep going. And it wasn't just about the money. This is the thing. I was also attaching my sense of self-worth and my sense of deservingness to that money. I wasn't just chasing a bunch of money so that I could feel like I finally had enough money. What I really wanted was to have enough money to finally feel safe and secure within myself and to finally feel good enough. That's really what I was chasing. And I thought that making a certain amount of money, checking a certain number of success boxes was going to be the thing to get me there. But unfortunately, I found even after making a lot of money, even after checking a lot of success boxes, that it actually had nothing to do with the amount of money. And I could see very clearly how if I continued on this path, that it would just be this never-ending cycle of needing more and more and more. And this is a pattern we see all the time when we look around at our society. There are so many people who make a lot of money. And I see this with my clients. Sometimes people come to me and they are making really good, decent money, and yet they feel like it's never enough. They feel like they're hustling. They feel like they're running. They don't feel that sense of safety, stability, enoughness, and freedom that they thought they would get from having some magical amount of money. All of this comes down to scarcity seeds, because this is evidence that amount of money alone isn't enough to create the feelings of safety, enoughness, worthiness, satisfaction, freedom, stability that we actually desire and that are the foundations to truly living an abundant life. Scarcity seeds is the internal side of money. It's our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, not just about money, but also about ourselves and the world around us. Because your relationship with money is also directly tied to your sense of self-worth. So in order to truly create and live an abundant life, you also need to deepen your relationship to yourself. You need to create a sense of self-trust, self-love, self-confidence, and expand your sense of self-worth. Because if you don't, it really doesn't matter how much money you have if under the surface you don't believe that you're worthy and deserving of receiving it. You don't believe that you can actually be safe. You don't believe that the world is a safe place. Or maybe you have qualms and stickiness around money. all of this stuff under the surface, our thoughts, our beliefs around ourselves, the world, and money, this is what foundationally prevents us from creating and living our abundant lives. And ignoring this side, the internal side of our relationship with money, is exactly what kept me stuck on the hustle hamster wheel perpetually. But scarcity seeds aren't just about keeping you stuck on the never-ending hustle hamster wheel. Scarcity seeds is essentially what keeps you wherever you currently are. If you look around at your life, what's the overarching theme or pattern that you notice, especially around money? Is it that no matter how hard you work or what you do, you always end up in the same place? Is it that you want to be bigger, more expansive, go full time in your business, make a bigger impact on the world, and yet you constantly find yourself feeling sabotaged, thwarted, and staying stuck in a bubble that's smaller than the life that you want to be living? These are just a few examples, but they're really common and they all come down to scarcity seeds. So let's talk about scarcity seeds. What actually are they and how do they impact you? So when I'm referring to scarcity seeds, that's really an umbrella term. In Empowered Abundance, when we're diving into scarcity seeds, we're actually talking about a few things, 3 things. One of them is the scarcity seed itself. These are the foundational scarce-based beliefs that everybody has some inkling of one way or another. We just grow up with them in our society. We adopt them. There are 3 common scarcity seeds: not enoughness, unworthiness, and starving artist syndrome. The beliefs that there's not enough to go around, that I'm not worthy of receiving, and that either I can do what I love or make money, but I can't have both. These are 3 very common foundational beliefs, and they show some people relate to one more than others. Some people relate to all 3. But what happens is that if you have these beliefs and they are primary common beliefs, whether they're conscious or whether they exist under the surface, that's going to impact your ability to receive money into your life. It's also going to impact and change the way that you spend money. And as a result, it's going to impact the way you feel in your life and the kind of life that you create as a result. One example of this is, imagine that you have the belief that money is the root of all evil, or people who have a lot of money are selfish or bad. If you have that belief, whether that's your primary conscious belief or whether it was something you were taught in childhood and it just exists under the surface, even if you don't think about it regularly, if you have that belief, it's going to be really, really hard for you to bring more money into your life, because your brain is designed to protect you and keep you safe. And therefore, having the belief that making a lot of money might make you a bad person, your brain is going to protect you at all costs. This foundational belief means that you having a lot of money is therefore a threat, because then you'll become a bad person and maybe you'll be rejected by friends or family and society. You're going to become isolated, you're going to become alone, and you're going to die alone, right? That's the extreme perspective that your brain accepts, and therefore your brain does a really great job of protecting you and keeping you safe by making sure that you are not someone who has a lot of money, whether that means self-sabotaging and blocking yourself from receiving a lot of money in the first place, or it means when you do have money and when you do bring in money, spending it as fast as possible so that you don't have to be someone who holds it. Now, this is just one specific example, but this can show up in so many ways. For example, if you have a primary belief of starving artist syndrome, that either you can do the work you love or make money, but not both, that's going to show up in a lot of ways. That's the same belief that keeps people stuck in unfulfilling 9-to-5 jobs that you don't like. Because under the surface, if you foundationally believe that either you can make money or you can do what you love, but not both, then that means that by default, anytime you're making money, you're not really gonna enjoy it, because that's the law that you are following. Or vice versa, if you try to run a business or you have a hobby that you're really passionate about, there's a fear that you can't make money doing that because it's going to ruin it. The hobby won't be as fun anymore. You won't enjoy it as much. It's going to ruin it and suck the joy out of it. Or when you're trying to run your business, it's going to be hard to price your offers and make money because you enjoy it so much, you would just do it for free. You're passionate about it. You don't think you should be charging for it. And all of these beliefs, all of them, whether they're these beliefs or other beliefs, these are the beliefs that prevent you from living the life you really want to be living. If you look around at your current life, your current financial situation, your current entrepreneurial situation, and it's not exactly where you want it to be, and you find yourself trying to get there, the only reason why you're not there yet is because under the surface, you have foundational beliefs that are not in alignment with that life. And therefore, these foundational beliefs keep you within the comfort zone of your current life and your current reality. This life that you're living right now, it's within the confines of your scarcity seeds. It's within the confines of your current belief system, and it's within the confines of your current comfort zone. So when it comes to changing your relationship with money, this is the foundation to creating your most abundant life, because you need to expand your beliefs to include your vision. Otherwise, it's going to be impossible for you to get there, because your scarcity seeds cause you to have tunnel vision. If you have beliefs rooted in scarcity and not enoughness, your brain is designed to filter out anything that does not validate these primary beliefs. So again, let's go back to starving artist syndrome, believing either I can make money or do what I love, but not both. If that's your primary belief that you were taught as a child and you've just been carrying it around with you your whole life, your brain is filtering out all other evidence that tells you that that might not be true. Whether that's seeing other people who are doing what they love and are making money, your brain's going to write that off as an anomaly or be like, oh, but I can't do that. Or it's just not even going to really recognize that that's the case, and it's not even going to be able to think of other people who are doing it. Or on the flip side, if you actively are enjoying what you're doing and you're bringing money in, your brain's not going to remember that. It's not going to think about it. It's only going to zoom in on the things you don't like about your job. Or vice versa. Maybe you're trying to make money doing what you love. Your brain's going to filter out any time you do make money. It's not going to focus on that. It's going to stay really focused on the money you're not making, how good you're not doing. And it's going to really focus on any possible way to continue to affirm this belief that you can't have it all. And as a result, because your brain is designed to work this way, it also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Any of your foundational scarcity seeds that you have, you're going to keep fulfilling it over and over again, which is again exactly why you can make more and more money, but still feel exactly the same as you did before and still end up in the same situations over and over again. Because even if the amount of money has changed, the foundational patterning around your relationship with money has not changed, and no amount of money is going to do anything about that. Now, I'd love to give you some specific examples with clients where this has also shown up. So I had one client who, growing up, she felt really repressed around money. She was taught, you need to be really smart, you can't spend, we can't afford it, you need to be strategic. And so she felt really frustrated, like, why can't we do these things? So not only did she feel repressed when it came to money, she also learned at another point that when you have things, that's what makes you good enough. So whether it's like the fancy bags or the fancy car, the fancy house, the fancy clothes, the brands, whatever it is, it's just like having a lot of things is what makes you happy, is what makes you worthy. So she learned both of these two things, and this could show up in a lot of different ways for different people, but how it showed up for her was she started to rebel against the financial repression. And so flash forward as an adult, she was hyper focused on having all the things, wanting all the things to validate her sense of worthiness, and at the same time put no limitations, no restrictions on herself because her rebellious self was making up for lost time as a child and was saying, you know what, I've been restricted for far too long. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to say yes to everything. And as a result, what happened for this person is she found herself in holes of debt and having nothing saved for the future and looking at her future with dread, and also often carrying around a lot of financial pressure and a lot of financial stress. And even though she was living a pretty happy, content, luxurious life because she was spending this money, she couldn't fully enjoy it because it was based on this foundation of not having money, feeling really stressed, and wondering when the other shoe was going to drop, and feeling afraid to even look at the future because she couldn't afford it. Let's look at an example of another client. Another client was taught that her worth is based on accomplishing things, achieving things, very similar to my own story. So flash forward to her adulthood, she crushed it at work. She was very competent. She worked very hard. She hustled like a boss. And on the surface, it looked like things were going really, really well. But at the same time, she felt exhausted. She felt burnt out. And even though she was making good money and was checking all the success boxes, she didn't feel fulfilled in her life, and she felt exhausted. So what happened when, for both of these clients, I taught them how to uncover, identify, and unwind their scarcity seeds? First and foremost, what happens is when I teach my clients about scarcity seeds and we start to see their relationship with money in this deep internal way, is you start to bring awareness around what has been motivating you, what has been driving you. And both of these clients, and also me from my past, were all motivated and driven by scarcity, by not enoughness. That's what kept us hustling. That's what kept us working hard. That's what kept us spending the way we were spending, or saving the way we were spending. And that's what kept us in the same patterns and situations and life over and over again. And so I teach them to bring awareness to their scarcity seeds, and this helps to break us out of the tunnel vision. When we can start to see clearly the primary beliefs that are motivating us, and we can start to create space and objectivity around them, we can see how these foundational beliefs, although they are protecting us in some ways, they're actually not serving us and getting us to where we want to go. So with my first client, when we tapped into her scarcity seeds and used specific techniques to unwind this patterning, she discovered what was most important to her. And yes, although there is a part of her that like does want all the things and does want to travel and does want all the nice stuff, when it really comes down to it, what was most important to her was a feeling of peace, a feeling of ease, a feeling where she could relax and have a little bit more freedom and space in her day. And it's very interesting because this was very different than the life she was actually living. The life that she was living, where she was rebelling against financial repression and needed to have a lot of stuff and things in order to feel good enough and worthy, that's what kept her hustling and running and on this never-ending hustle hamster wheel. But when she could see clearly that, oh, actually, these foundational beliefs, they don't really serve me in creating the sense of peace and freedom that I really desire, this is when she could start to break the cycle. By seeing how these old beliefs no longer serve us, that's when we can open up the door to bring in and instill new beliefs. That's when we can begin to expand our comfort zone and expand our life in order to step into our next level of abundance. And this is exactly what happened for the second client as well. When we uncovered her scarcity seeds and determined what was most important to her, she completely changed her life. And for her, what her next level of abundance looked like was actually working part-time and finding a job that she enjoyed, that was really fulfilling to her, that had part-time hours, that was exactly enough to cover her expenses, to cover her lifestyle, so that she could spend a lot more time with her kids. Now, that was very different from her old beliefs of needing to hustle, needing to check all the boxes, needing to work a lot, needing to make a lot of money, and instead saying, wow, actually, I can feel more free. I can feel more abundant. I can spend more time with family starting right now. And it's possible by changing how I feel about money and therefore changing how I'm bringing money into my life and how I'm spending my money and how I'm spending my time. Digging into scarcity seeds is what opened up the door for these clients to change the foundational patterns, the foundational habits that kept them in their situations over and over again. And I have also found this to be true for myself. Not only when I first had my transformation and jumped off the hustle hamster wheel, but also in my business. As I have been growing my business, that has been a journey of continuously stepping into my next level of abundance over and over again. And in order to do that, I have constantly had to go back to address my scarcity seeds. And this is not just a one and done, it's anytime you're expanding. Anytime you're stepping into your next level of abundance, the scarcity seeds are going to keep you stuck. That's just part of it. They are what protect you and keep you within your current comfort zone. And for some people, that's fine. If you want to stay in your comfort zone, if you're content and happy, awesome. That's great. But speaking to the people who want more, who want to expand, this is what it comes down to. So for me, in growing my full-time 6-figure coaching business, I discovered a lot of beliefs about my own self-worth, thinking I'm not good enough. I'm not the popular one. I'm not deserving. In fact, people who have a lot of money, people who have things just handed to them, they don't get it. There's something to be said about having to fight for it, having to work for it, coming from humble, poor backgrounds and having to scrape in order to succeed. That was my story. That was my patterning. That was what unfolded as a result of my scarcity seeds. And in some ways, those patterns worked really well for me. It makes me a hard worker, it makes me really resilient, helps me put in a lot of hours, it makes me really successful in a lot of ways. But I also discovered that because I had these foundational beliefs and this underlying story around money, that it was going to be really, really hard for me to actually make a lot of money and have it be easy and simple. Because if I stay in the story of I need to hustle. I need to work hard. I need to be scrappy. I need to fight for it, then I could never actually be in the receiving of it. I could never be in the ease of it. I could never be the person who actually does have the money and does get to live the life that I want to live, because these foundational beliefs would never let me get there, especially when I was so comfortable not having enough, not being good enough, and being repressed financially, having to scrape by financially. That was my comfort zone. There was a lot of me that wanted to stay there. That's what I was taught. That's who I believed I was. That's what I was used to. And so in order to actually create the business that I have now, I had to break free from this old identity, these old beliefs, these old scarcity seeds that would have perpetually kept me in never having enough, never being good enough, having to keep scraping by and pushing and trying to get there. And honestly, it took me many years to figure this out. I worked on it, but it still took me a while to unwind these patterns for myself. I spent a lot of years being in the trying to get there instead of just allowing myself to be the kind of person who is there and can be safe being there. But here's the thing. Once you do the internal work, once you shift internally, once you unwind these scarcity seeds, once you uncover them, once you see the exact patterns that are holding you back within you, that's when you can create space, and that's when you can stop self-sabotaging. That's all it comes down to, is we are constantly self-sabotaging and keeping ourselves small as a mode of protection. And as soon as you change that, things on the outside shift, and they shift big time until your expansion becomes your new reality and becomes your new normal. And then it doesn't have to be hard. Living your abundant life, stepping into your next level of abundance, it gets easier and easier when your brain believes that it's safe for you to be there, and when you're not fighting against all these old scarcity seeds that constantly keep you where you are. Okay, so I know I talked a lot about scarcity seeds. One thing that you can do to start to identify this for yourself is take a look at your life. If you flash back, what's the key pattern or theme or cycle that you find yourself continuously looping through over and over again? Have you been working hard to try and create something, manifest something, bring in more money, expand into a bigger level, live a more abundant life, and yet you find yourself stuck in a similar situation, in a similar life, in a similar pattern over and over again, even when you've tried to do different things, even when you've tried to get different results, even when you've made different amounts of money? If you notice that key pattern repeating itself, where you're still not where you want to be, even when you've done all the things, this is because of scarcity seeds. It's not about an amount of money. It's not about certain actions. It's about something within you designed to keep you where you currently are. And we can see that this is true because you've done a lot of external things to try and get you there, and yet you're still where you are now. But this is really good news, because everything going on under the surface within your brain, all these beliefs that we talked about, there's actually a very simple and clear process for changing them. And this is why uncovering scarcity seeds is the first step in the Empowered Abundance program, because it is the foundation that all abundance rests upon. And it is literally the framework for continuing to expand your capacity and step into your next level of abundance over and over and over again. Now, even just starting to bring awareness to your scarcity seeds and bring awareness to these patterns that we talked about today can be really valuable and can be really impactful. But also, it's very different to actually do something about it, to actually practice and utilize these tools and techniques to getting right to the scarcity seeds and pulling them up. The analogy that I like to share all the time is, imagine that you wanted to grow a beautiful vegetable garden, and that beautiful vegetable garden is your most abundant life. In order to create that garden, we need to go in and pull out all of the weeds that are already growing so that we can till the soil so that you can plant the seeds that are going to grow your beautiful vegetable garden of your vision. A lot of the time, we spend just trying to plant new seeds, but we haven't done the work of pulling out the weeds that are already there. And that's why it can feel like it takes a really, really long time and like you're fighting against some invisible force when you're trying to manifest a more abundant life. The tools and the techniques that I teach in Empowered Abundance is actually going in and pulling out those weeds, so that you can plant those seeds and they will grow and flourish way, 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 way faster. I promise. This saves you so much time when we just get to the root of it and change foundationally the exact thing that is keeping us stuck and keeping us where we are. So if you're feeling sick of staying stuck in the same patterns that you've been in, staying stuck in the same financial situation, feeling like it's never enough, wanting to expand your business, wanting to expand your life, wanting to feel more fulfilled, wanting to feel more free, and just wanting to finally get there, then Empowered Abundance is the perfect place to start. Because in Empowered Abundance, I teach you how to get to the core of it and how to actually do something about it so that these sneaky scarcity seeds don't hold you back anymore, and any action that you're actually taking is going to move you forward instead of hold you back. Like I said, enrollment is opening very soon. Enrollment for the next round of Empowered Abundance opens June 29th. During the 2-week open enrollment period, that will be your chance to schedule a free consultation with me. A free consultation is a 60-minute call where we're going to deeply explore your current relationship with money. I'm going to help you identify what are your primary scarcity seeds. What is keeping you stuck? What has been holding you back? I'm going to help you get clear on what is your next level of abundance and how can you get there? What is the simplest, most streamlined route to creating your most abundant life? You're going to walk away with a ton of awareness and a very clear path for moving forward. And on top of that, I'm going to support you in exploring exactly how Empowered Abundance can help you through this process. I'll break down exactly what we do in Empowered Abundance and exactly how it can support you on your journey. And I'm there to support you in deciding if this is the right next step for you and if now is the right time. Now, here's what I will say. The longer that we keep our scarcity seeds buried in the ground of our subconscious mind, the longer they're going to hold us back. We can fight against them, and eventually maybe that will tear them out, but why not just get to the root of it now? That way all of the action, the effort that you're already putting in can really move you forward, and you can really build that momentum towards creating the life you want to live instead of constantly fighting against some invisible force that seems to perpetually be keeping you stuck. This is what makes Empowered Abundance so unique, is we get to the core of it, and that's just step one. I have found time and time again with my clients that when you do this work of uncovering and healing scarcity seeds, everything changes, because this is the foundation to this life that you're living right now, and it is the foundation to creating any life that you want to live. So if you're ready to dig out your scarcity seeds so that you can step fully into your next level of abundance, then I'm going to invite you to schedule a free consultation with me. Now, I said that enrollment is opening on June 29th, but because you are a podcast listener, I'm giving you an opportunity to schedule your consult before anyone else. Space is always limited for Empowered Abundance, and also spots on my calendar for consultations, these 60-minute calls, they're also limited. So I want to make sure that you get the chance to put your consultation on the calendar. If you're ready to talk about exactly how Empowered Abundance can support you in breaking free from scarcity seeds and stepping into your next level of abundance, then schedule your consultation with me now. You can do so using the link in the show notes below or by going to my website, www.thebizhippie.com/abundance. Okay, that is all for this week's episode. Have a great rest of your Money Monday, and I will see you next week.